Alright, so here I am driving. I'm gonna go help somebody out. And I remember the attitude of gratitude. And if we have gratitude for everything in our life, we recognize how it has happened for us rather than to us. And when I was younger, I despised bullies. I hated them. I mean, they poke you, they hit you, they kick you, they make your life miserable. They steal your lunch money. They do all sorts of things that are just things that you wouldn't do, right? I mean, you wouldn't do that to somebody else, and so there's a basic expectation in the world that other people won't do that to you. But unfortunately, we're living in a world where people are not being held accountable by the just us system. And so we have to learn how do we change it? How do we grow in our society? Right? How do we grow in ourselves? How do we grow in freedom? How do we grow in peace? Because we've grown a lot in war, right? We're at war everywhere, and with everyone, because why not, right? It makes some people a lot of money to be able to have war. So back to the bully, and where I have found gratitude in bullies. So when I first went into kindergarten, my mom told me, she's like, "Hey, be good, be nice, don't hit, don't kick, don't take anything that's not yours. You've got to not embarrass me, okay? And your teachers, they're gonna tell me if you embarrass me, because that's the way it works. So I'm gonna know if you're doing bad things in school." I'm like, all right. So I went to school the first day, and there was a bully, and he was poking at me and hitting me and slapping me and pinching me and doing all sorts of stuff that I'm thinking, I'm like, hey, my mom told me not to do this to anybody, and they told me not to fight in school, and so I can't fight back because that would be fighting, and then I'd get in trouble and I'd embarrass my family and all of these things. So I was like, well, they said you can't fight at school. So being 5 and logical, I'm like, well, the bus stop isn't school, and I know that he gets off on my bus. So I'm thinking, after hours of enduring this bullying, I'm like, well, I said, that's it. I said, I'm gonna whoop this guy's ass when we get off the bus. And so me and my 5 years of wisdom, fueled by rage, wrath, the desire to whoop some butt, put what I've learned watching all the violence on television into action, So I get on the bus, and we start going towards where I live, and I'm thinking, all right, this is going to happen. This is what's up. And then all of a sudden, the bus driver starts going in a different direction. And I was like, oh no. Hey, bus driver. I said, I live that way. He says, well, kid, you're on the wrong bus. I said, oh, crap. And he says, all right, well, I'll just let you off here and you're going to have to walk. I said, I'm only 5. I said, I can't cross the street. And he says, son, he says, he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. This is 1979. He's like, he says, hey, kid, he says, just, you know your way home, right? I said, yeah. And he says, well, just look both ways and you'll be all right. So I was mad. I walked home, and I didn't want to burden my mom with all of my my dramas, so I didn't say anything. And so then the second day of school came, and well, that bully, he just kept on being a bully, and I still didn't want to get in trouble at school, and still thinking that, well, if I get on the right bus today, that means that we'll both be getting off on the right bus this evening. And that's when this can happen. And so that's what I did. And I sat right behind the bus driver, so that way I could be the first one off the bus. And some security, some safety. And when I got off the bus. There was about 4 people. They got off the bus after me. And then there he is, stepping down the steps from the bus. And as soon as he planted his foot on the ground, I smacked him in the nose with my closed fist. And I just kept on pounding on him until he was just a crying, blubbering fool sitting in a mud puddle. And then everybody was like, oh my gosh. And so I ran home to tell my mom. I'm like, hey mom, I kicked Kenny's butt. I'm sorry, but he was picking on me for 2 days and I couldn't take it no more. So then, anyway, back in 1979, parents, they talked with each other. This is a small town too. And so what's she do? She invites him over for dinner, or at least, to have a beer. And so Kenny and his mom and his dad, they show up, and I was supposed to. I apologized to Kenny's dad, and I said, I'm sorry for kicking Kenny's butt. And he says, nope, shit, little shit probably deserved it, as he popped another beer. And I'm starting to think, I'm like, wow, all right, so this kid, maybe his mom and dad are just too drunk to teach him how to be nice, right? And so if we don't teach our kids how to be nice, and if we're not leading by example, how are they supposed to know how to be nice, right? So anyway, I kind of learned, at kind of a young age. I mean, still, if somebody's assaulting you, you got to stop them. But there might be extenuating circumstances that are causing that hurt person to hurt others. So, I mean, what I know now, I would have sat him down and be like, hey, Kenny, I'm like, I don't want to flatten your face, but I also don't want you poking, hitting, scratching, biting, whatever me either, because that's not cool. So either you stop bullying me, or I'm gonna show you what that feels like. And anyway, so the gratitude that I found, though, is that him being a bully taught me that if I feel that there's something wrong happening in the world, I need to be the one to fix it for me. And because nobody is, I'm sorry, but there ain't no saviors. You've got to take care of you, or you're gonna fail. I mean, it's really, there's some lucky people out there that have networks of friends or family that help them out regularly. But when their support structure goes away, because people die, that's like moms that have allowed their child to be entitled and just sit in a room and play video games, and they don't even do their own laundry, they don't clean up after themselves, they don't take care of anything. They are going to struggle when that support structure goes away. And by struggling, that promotes stress. And stress promotes depression and anxiety. And depression and anxiety, I think those are the primary roots of the biggest epidemic of all time that people aren't talking about. And that's suicide. I mean, I know quite a few folks that have killed themselves, and not all of them had interactions with Bill and Hillary Clinton. I mean, we're talking about good people that they held a smile up even though they were crying inside. And maybe they were crying every night before they fall asleep, and they're waking up going, oh my God, I'm here again, I'm still here. Why is life happening to me? But when we shift our awareness into gratitude and life lessons and our ability to be independent. We are each a child of God. And when we can look at ourselves in the mirror and say, I am free, I am beautiful, I'm independent and empowered, blessed and beloved, child of God, we start acting like it. And when we start acting like it, we start trusting in ourselves, because that's what's real, right? And we're aware of our environment. Like right now, I'm driving, and normally I'd be trying to look at the camera so that way you feel like I'm looking at you. But it's more important that I live, right? That I don't hurt anybody else, and so I'm paying primary attention to my driving. But when we recognize, when we're aware of what we can control and what we can't, and we're recognizing a perspective of growth instead of one as something happening as a negative aspect, we can address it from a calm state of mind. And when we can address it from a calm, aware state of mind, we can also recognize either the root of the problem or a solution that we're going to be pretty happy with. So anyway, that's my gratitude for bullies. Is they teach us that we need to stand up for ourselves, and they teach us that schooling and the educators do not have a responsibility for your safety or your well-being. And I was thankful to learn that by the second grade, or I'm sorry, by the second day of kindergarten. I mean, it didn't even take years of experience to realize that, wow, this is nuts. I should have paid attention. I think we read a book in like 8th grade, 7th grade, something like that. And the author suggested that we shouldn't let schooling get in the way of our education. So I kind of think I should have just quit right there, because my grandpa, he only went to like the 4th or 5th grade, and he still lived all the way until he died. I mean, he had a vehicle to drive, and he had a house to live in out in the country, and he had a pretty good life. So, anyway, there's a lot of things that we've been trained to believe is the way that everything should be, but maybe it's not that way. So I see God as the opportunities of growth, oneness, and a divine way of interaction with each other. And with a divine way of interaction with each other, we can put ourselves into other people's shoes before we have to flatten their noses. So, anyway, I love y'all. Thanks for watching. Share and subscribe if you're inclined, because I'm just sharing about who I am and what I believe and what I've learned to help me create a life of health, happiness, abundance, and peace. All right, peace out.